Hi, I'm Barry Zacks. I'm from the Huntington Drug and Alcohol Counseling Center, and we are members of the Town of Huntington Opioid Task Force and work really closely with the East Northport Drug and Alcohol Task Force. So we're doing this to mark the end of Recovery Month. Tomorrow is the end of September, and just because Recovery Month ends doesn't mean that we're going to stay out of the limelight, stay out of speaking, staying out of trying to rally the community, stay out of trying to fill the places that we speak a little more. My experience is you never know who picks up the pen from our table or another resource and makes the phone call. So I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank Pastor David for, what a beautiful place. Really fantastic, So there's a lot of task forces around, and the idea is, we tell individuals that accessing recovery by themselves, given the power of addiction, is a rough ride, mostly impossible for people. So what we realize is that it's such a powerful force in the community that we want to put together change agents. We want to work together as much as possible. I'm in the field a long time somehow, and there was a time when everybody sort of acted as an independent silo, and that didn't work, and it doesn't work. So on these task forces and speakers tonight, there'll be people with personal experience, people who represent addiction treatment, prevention. We work with elected officials, social media sites, and parents and concerned neighbors. And I think the more diverse and the more we can work with everybody, the more we can get people united. And so the idea is to really bring unity and hope to the community. And that's not easy, because I look around and I look at Facebook and I don't see a lot of unity. I see a lot of disunity and I see a lot of despair. So it's getting harder and harder to get people united around something. But we have to do it. I was speaking to a mom yesterday, and this mother called me. Her adult son, had been in and out of treatment and was relapsing quite a bit, and now is in a good place getting help. But she was full of course, frustration and despair. And I told her something that doesn't sound hopeful, but it is. I told her that we can't absolve somebody from doing the work for their own recovery, for their own wellness. If there was a potion I could give somebody so that they'd never relapse, I'm not sure I'd want to do that. We don't want robots. We don't really want to work on people. We want to work with people. So I really want to be respectful of people's agency, and choices, and help motivate them. But it was a very hopeful conversation, because what I got this mom to look at was her high blood pressure, and her insomnia, and her anxiety, and her mood swings, and her impaired job performance, and her distracted driving. And she didn't use alcohol or drugs. And I gave her some resources for family members. And the conversation ended up not how we can fix her son, but on helping her to feel hopeful and exercise her agency for her own wellness too, So just because we can't absolve someone for working for their own recovery, that doesn't absolve us. Look, I know most of you, we're treatment people here. That doesn't absolve us from having to be effective. And help needs to take place in an atmosphere of hope and unity. And facing a troubling issue like addiction in a good atmosphere, instead of avoiding issues and, pretending it's not so bad. I think that can be the difference between helping somebody not just survive, but really thrive. There's people here from some recovery centers called Thrive. When it was new, I thought that was a terrible name. I did. And I realized it's not. I think thriving is a really great vision to have for people who don't have it for themselves. So I was wrong. And I'll tell you this, because I've been around helping professionals, they can get their own despair. There's a term, therapeutic despair. And I've seen it. And what they do, for a variety of reasons, they help people settle. They help people, they put a value on calling people survivors, keeping people living in resentment and defining themselves by somebody else or what's happened to them in the past or some history or something, and living sort of in resignation and surviving is good. But I really believe people can thrive. I really believe people can embrace their own identity and growth, looking at their internal strengths, talents, creativity, and find direction in their life, no matter what's happening on the outside of them. So there's a saying in the 12-step programs, AA and Al-Anon, and they say a lot of corny, hokey stuff. They say, let us love you till you start loving yourself. And corny as it is, the first time I heard it, but there's something to it. There's something about believing in people's ability to live their best lives physically, emotionally, and spiritually. With help, of course, and not in isolation. And that's how we instill hope. And I'm realizing we need to have a vision, not just for individuals who struggle with addiction, but for a community affected by addiction. Because a community has strengths and resilience too. So the worst thing to say about a community is, well, we're surviving, we're getting by. I don't like that language for a community any more than I do for an individual. So we want to instill more hope and unity here in Northport and the town of Huntington. So rallying individuals around recovery, well, that's why self-help and group counseling and community supports can be very effective. They get people rallied around a single issue. And from my work, I've seen that rallying a family around recovery can really help the family. So I don't see why that can't work for a community too. Finding partners and leaders to help rally the community, it's very empowering. And it empowers the community to take accountability and work for its own wellness, and not just during Recovery Month. So, and we share a vision of hope with elected officials. We share it with a lot of providers, and I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I want to introduce Linda Oristano. She is the East Northport Drug and Alcohol Task Force project leader. Is that right? That's a mouthful. Yeah, wow. So anyway, so I'm going to introduce Linda to you, and thank you all for coming out.
Hi, I'm Linda Oristano, but now you know who I am, and I just want to welcome everyone here tonight. I think it's really great, and I love what Barry said about just because we're having a closing tonight doesn't mean that we're going to stop the work that we're doing moving forward. I also just want to thank Stephanie Bontempi from the town of Huntington for coming, and Dave Weber from Northport. So thank you for being here and for all your support. It's very important to us. I also just want to say a couple of things that is really important to the task